A white-haired woman with sharp knife-like ears remembered the day she picked up a black-haired boy long ago. She felt glad that the boy finally found his own path after all that time. She also wished that the boy named Blanc would enjoy his freedom as much as he could. In the busy center of the royal capital, a girl walked toward a shopkeeper who quickly noticed that she was not with her mother. The girl said her mother was nearby chatting, so she came on her own. The shopkeeper simply laughed because he already expected that from her mother, who loved to talk. At that moment, some people around them noticed something in the sky. When the girl and the shopkeeper looked up, they saw a dragon appear and breathe flames at them. A strong light covered everything, and in the next second the whole city turned into ruins. Many people who survived realized that the black dragon was attacking them. The dragon let out a loud roar to show its power. The shopkeeper could not believe that the strongest among the Demon King's first lieutenants attacked them now. He thought there was no way they could survive. A group of mages then rushed in to fight the black dragon. The survivors felt relieved when they saw the Royal Mage Corps. With them present, the people believed they still had a chance to live. The mages gathered their power and released a combined magic attack. The black dragon stayed in place and took the hit. When the dragon seemed to explode, the people cheered, thinking the huge demonic creature had finally been defeated. But when the smoke cleared, they saw the black dragon still alive without even a scratch. Everyone stood in shock, unable to believe what they were seeing. The captain of the Mage Corps instructed everyone to prepare defensive spells when he noticed the black dragon getting ready for another attack. They managed to put up a barrier just in time, but it was not strong enough to hold back the dragon's power. The barrier shattered, and the mages were thrown aside like rags. The captain realized they had no chance of winning. Many of them accepted that their lives might end there. The girl from earlier kept searching for her mother. The black dragon then hovered over everyone, ready to finish them with one final strike. At that moment, a masked mage used a spell called Seal of the Demon Breaking Barrier. The dragon's breath stopped and became harmless as a new barrier surrounded the entire city. The mage raised his hand and cast the spell, Grace of the Blessed Rain. The people below were confused when the rain fell, but soon noticed that their wounds were healing. They wondered what was happening. The girl from earlier pointed out that someone was floating in the air. Everyone finally saw that the Black Emperor had appeared. They could not believe the strongest Grade 0 adventurer had come to help. Hope filled the air, and the people celebrated because their savior had arrived. The black-masked mage ignored the cheers. He lifted his hand and his dark magic formed a spear called the Divine Annihilation Spear. With one swing of his arm, the spear shot toward the dragon and struck it. The dragon roared in pain, yet still kept its wings raised. The masked mage realized the creature would not fall from a single attack. He chose to end the battle for good. He raised his hand above his head and countless dark spears formed out of thin air. He planned to continue until the dragon finally fell. The dragon grew angry and released another blast of fire. The masked mage already knew the same attack would not work on him. He refused to let the dragon escape again. With a wave of his hand, the floating dark spears spun quickly and then launched toward the dragon. The dragon's body was pierced in many places. Much of its flesh disappeared, and only holes remained in its lifeless form. Everyone watched in silence as the creature known as the Black Dragon fell from the sky. The people then cheered for the Black Emperor's victory, and for the lives that had been saved. The Dark Emperor watched them quietly for a few seconds before leaving as if nothing had happened. The people called his name, but they did not even get the chance to thank him. The girl from earlier stared at her savior as he departed, her eyes full of admiration. Later, at the Adventurers Guild headquarters, a receptionist ran to the black-masked mage and asked what had happened to the request. The other adventurers looked worried as he entered the building. He calmly told the receptionist that the job was finished. The adventurers inside the hall cheered in celebration. The receptionist felt relieved that he managed to defeat the Black Dragon, a creature many believed was impossible to beat. The black-masked mage explained that this was what he had trained for the whole time. The receptionist thought he meant it was only for the Black Dragon. He said that it was part of his deal with them to take down the dragon. The receptionist remembered that the deal was connected to his quitting as an adventurer. She froze along with the others. The black-masked mage then made it clear that he was retiring as a Grade 0 adventurer. Everyone felt stunned by his decision. In this world, only 8 people held the title of Grade 0 adventurer. They were known as the strongest among all humans. The news of the Black Emperor's retirement spread quickly across the world. Nations and guilds rushed to stop him or convince him to join them. No matter what they tried, they could not track him down. In the end, the Black Emperor disappeared. 3 years later, a black-haired boy arrived at his destination, a small town in the distance. He believed it was time to begin a new life. Blanc registered as a new adventurer and received his license, which showed he started at Grade 10. The receptionist explained that the plate he infused with mana was now his official license. She reminded him that he needed it whenever he accepted or reported requests, so she asked him to keep it safe. She asked if he had any questions. Blanc said he had none, thanked her, and realized he did not know how to address her. The receptionist apologized for introducing herself late. Her name was Lena. She welcomed Blanc to Claret in the kingdom of Rarat and wished him good luck in his work as an adventurer. As Blanc walked through the streets, he realized Claret was a pleasant town. The Radiola Empire where he once lived was the largest nation on the continent and home to the Adventurers Guild headquarters. The capital was prosperous, but the heavy foot traffic had been difficult. Blanc had grown tired of being pushed around by crowds. 3 years had passed since then. To hide his identity as the Black Emperor, he changed his combat style and chose to use a sword. It took time to master it. He hoped he would not need a weapon in this new part of his life. In the end, he reached his goal of becoming a grade 10 adventurer. When he passed by the city gates, the gatekeeper waved and called out to him. The man seemed to think Blanc finished his registration without trouble. Blanc walked toward him and thanked him for the directions to the guild earlier. The gatekeeper wished him luck since the town sat on the edge of the demon forest. He said having more adventurers around was always helpful. Blanc looked surprised when he heard about the demon forest, so the gatekeeper explained that one of the 5 demon kings lived there. He added that the second demon king's territory was said to be close by. Blanc said he heard about it. He remembered warnings about monsters appearing more often, which made even simple herb gathering dangerous. This meant the smaller jobs would pile up in the area. That was exactly why Blanc chose this country. Seeing Blanc so motivated, the gatekeeper said they were counting on a rookie like him. After waving goodbye, Blanc felt it was time to accept the request. Before that, he visited the real estate office. A man welcomed him and Blanc explained that he wanted to buy a house. Most adventurers focused on hunting monsters, so most of their money went to maintaining their gear. Because of that, many of them stayed in inns and owning a home alone was rare. Only elite adventurers bought their own houses. His master once told him that renting or staying in an inn was fine, but having a place to return to felt meaningful. Blanc still did not fully understand that feeling, but he had earned plenty over the past 3 years, so he thought it was a good time to spend some of it. He and the employee sat down to talk and Blanc was asked about his preferences. Blanc said he wanted something large with a bath. The employee said they had a place like that, although it was on the edge of town near the plains, so he could not promise there would be no monster activity. He then suggested checking it right away if Blanc had no problems with the location. Blanc agreed immediately and followed him to the house. Blanc looked around the place, and while he did, the employee explained that it matched his requests, but its distance from the city center was the only drawback. Blanc agreed that it might be a little inconvenient, but compared to living deep in the mountains, it felt easy. He told the employee that he liked the house and decided to take it on the spot. The employee thanked him and said they had struggled to find a buyer because of certain issues. He then asked how Blanc wanted to pay. Without hesitation, Blanc handed over a bag of gold coins and said he would pay in full right away. The employee's eyes widened and he shook the bag in surprise. Blanc realized he had made the moment awkward. Carrying 1,000 gold coins was annoying, but for a house worth 10 million belks, it felt cheap compared to the 10 billion he received for defeating the Black Dragon. The house might be a bit large for someone living alone, but tight spaces never suited him. He lifted his low-ranked adventurer license and smiled. For some reason, he felt genuinely happy about becoming a grade 10 adventurer. In the past, in the Adventurers Guild, a young Blanc had just registered as a new adventurer and already ranked as grade 7. The other adventurers talked behind his back and complained about how he suddenly reached a high grade after receiving a recommendation from a grade 0 adventurer. They believed he would fail sooner or later. His master patted his head and told him to ignore their noise. She said their world relied on results and told him to silence them through his actions. Blanc understood this and began proving himself. He cleared difficult requests again and again. In time, he received the nickname Black Emperor, and people talked about how he finished every request without complaints. When they saw how real his skills were, no one questioned how quickly he rose to grade 0. Blanc later met his master and received his final task as her disciple. She told him to slay the Black Dragon, servant of the first Demon King. Once he finished that, he would be free to go. When he heard this, Blanc wondered if the word free held any special meaning. Even so, he decided to move since his master had ordered it. When he reached the Adventurers Guild, the receptionist explained that another noble had sent a request for the Black Emperor. Since he never turned down any request, he became known as someone reliable and strong. Blanc said he was only doing what he was told. A group of young adventurers then rushed into the guild after finishing their requests. The receptionist warned them not to run indoors. Blanc asked who they were. She explained they were new grade 0 recruits who had just registered. She remembered that he started at grade 7. She said these kids could not take on monsters as he could, so they were starting with simple tasks like gathering herbs and cleaning the city to gain experience. Blanc wondered what the point of being an adventurer was if they could not slay the Demon King's beasts or explore unknown places. He doubted that this kind of small task held any real meaning. Suddenly, a citizen thanked the kids for helping them the other day. Blanc noticed how cheerful the person looked. At that moment, he realized that even if the kids only did small chores, those herbs they gathered became medicine, and keeping the streets clean helped prevent sickness from spreading. Even the smallest tasks had meaning, and these kids were helping not only adventurers, but also the daily lives of ordinary people. Blanc had focused so much on killing monsters that he never saw this side of things. Adventurers were meant to defeat monsters, and he had done his part by taking down important targets for the nobles. But he began to wonder what that really meant. The monsters nobles wanted hunted lived far beyond human lands, and would not even be bothered if not for official requests. The monsters he killed became trophies, their bodies turned into collectibles, chased out of greed and not a real purpose. Those requests never truly helped anyone. He wondered who was now the real errand boy. He realized he wanted to do work that actually helped someone. But he was a grade 0 adventurer, and requests from nobles would not stop. Guild rules also kept him from taking simple jobs. His thoughts finally settled when he remembered his master's words about gaining freedom. Blanc believed his master had expected this outcome from the start. It was meant to help him begin healing his heart. In the past, he killed without feeling, numb to everything. He did not even know who he was. When he became aware, he was already with his master and had no memories of his life before that. He wondered who he used to be, but he knew it no longer mattered. At that moment, he was simply Blanc, a grade 10 adventurer. He decided to pick up a request because it felt like the right time to head out. It was the first day of his freedom, and he finally felt ready for it. While he prepared, he wondered what his master was doing. At the same time, Blanc's master felt annoyed by how pushy people had become. A man with a serious look reminded her that she already knew why they acted that way. He kept pressuring her to reveal the location of the Black Emperor. This woman was Clula, the Sword Saint and Blanc's master. She scoffed and told the Vice Chairman Vulcan to give up since 3 years had already passed. Vulcan slammed his fist on the table and shouted that 3 years of requests for the Black Emperor had piled up like a mountain. Clula asked why they were so focused on her disciple when there were other special grade adventurers. Vulcan hesitated and admitted that those people would not go. Clula guessed that he could not make them go. Vulcan glared at her, offended, so Clula glared back and asked who he thought he was trying to threaten. The heavy pressure she released made it hard for him to breathe. Even someone like him, a grade 1, could not handle it. He finally understood the clear difference between grade 1 and grade 0. Clula stepped closer with a cold expression. She said she only came because of an old obligation and that escaping their surveillance would have been easy for her. Vulcan shouted that this was exactly why they needed her disciple. The Black Emperor was a special grade adventurer, yet he still accepted their tasks. Clula asked if those tasks were actually the errands she had heard about. Vulcan could not answer. Clula reminded him that her disciple once had no will of his own, and people like them used that weakness until he was worn out. She pushed him to become an adventurer so he could find his own strength and a reason to live. She said her disciple was never meant to be their tool. Now that he had found his own will, people like Vulcan had no right to interfere. Vulcan tried to stop her, but Clula left the room without turning back. She felt a headache coming as she looked out the window and wondered how her kid was doing. As long as he was safe, that was enough for her. She felt like her part in all of this was finally over. She decided it was time to see Blanc herself. Meanwhile, Blanc eagerly checked the request board for grade 10 adventurers. The request board was filled with quests about gathering herbs, running small errands, cleaning the town, and finding lost pets. After seeing how many of them there were, Blanc realized that grade 10 requests were not popular at all. He also noticed that the higher the rank became, the fewer requests appeared, and hunt-type requests only started to show up at grade 4. After thinking for a moment, Blanc chose a request from the board and handed it to the receptionist. Lena confirmed it was a Heriagrass collection request and took his license and the form. She placed them inside a strange box and waited. After a short while, she said the request was now accepted. She explained that it was already recorded on his license and that he could check it any time. Blanc felt surprised because this was his first time seeing how a normal quest worked. He still had no idea what the magic box was used for. He asked to see a sample of Heriagrass, and Lena brought out a piece with a clear twin-leaf split. Blanc thanked her, but the moment he touched the grass, he felt a sudden headache. Lena noticed and wondered if he was all right. Blanc felt the same painful rush he had experienced before. At random times, knowledge he should not know suddenly poured into his mind. Right now, he already understood the grass's habitat, the proper way to harvest it, and how to refine it into medicine or even poison. It was helpful, but he still could not get used to the sudden pain. He told Lena he was fine and thanked her for the sample. She wished him luck on his first job. Blanc headed to the forest and after only a minute of searching, already found some hiria grass. Even better, there were many of them grouped together. When he looked more closely, he realized the grass was growing almost everywhere. Based on the new knowledge in his mind, he knew not to pull the grass out of the soil. Instead, he needed to cut the stalk close to the base without harming the roots so it could grow again later. After harvesting, he should wrap the cut end in a damp cloth to keep it fresh. The strange headache knowledge turned out to be useful for him once again. Just then, a slime appeared in front of him. Even if it was weak, it was still a Demon King's spawn. Its instinct was to attack anything it saw, almost like it was built to hate humans. If someone dropped their guard, a slime could quietly sneak up and suffocate a person from behind. The slime tried to attack him, but Blanc simply stepped on it. Poor slime chose the wrong guy to mess with. After that, he noticed the defeated slime had left a core. It served as proof of its defeat and could be sold. However, he was not short on money, so he ignored it and continued gathering herbs. By late afternoon, Blanc finally went back to town. He got so into the task that he collected far more than he planned. He always enjoyed simple and mindless work like this. The plants were tough, so over-harvesting would not be a problem, and he felt sure the guild would not refuse to buy everything. As Blanc walked into the guild, Lena welcomed him back and checked how his first request went. Blanc said there were no issues and asked her to look at the required items. Lena seemed surprised when she saw the large amount of grass. Blanc admitted he got carried away and gathered more than needed. Lena paused for a moment and then laughed a little as she called Blanc a strange one. She then asked him to wait while she checked the materials. While waiting alone, Blanc heard the other adventurers talking about rumors of strange activity in the demon forest. They mentioned high-tier monsters appearing near the entrance. Some even talked about growls being heard inside the town. They feared that monsters might have entered the city. Still, it was only a rumor, and if it were true, the gate guards would have been in an uproar already. Hearing all of this, Blanc remembered the other rumor about the third Demon King living in the forest, who was said to be the most peaceful one among them. Finally, Lena returned and called Blanc amazing. She said everyone had been shocked by the condition of his hiria grass, especially since he was a first-timer. Blanc felt happy when he heard that. Lena explained that hiria grass was important for making medicine, but very few people accepted those requests, so the guild was often short on supplies. She said it was because of Blanc that they could finally recover from the shortage. Blanc became speechless for a moment. Lena then remembered to congratulate him for finishing his first request. Blanc got his license back and showed a small, bittersweet smile as he thanked her. Lena seemed surprised by the look on his face. Blanc walked away while thinking about her words. He could not stop a small giggle, which made the people he passed feel uneasy. At that moment, he was finally a certified errand boy. The next day, Blanc moved quietly and jumped across the roofs of houses as if he were searching for something. It did not take long before he found the cat he needed. He quietly noted that he had finally found it. The cat heard him and froze, but it was already too late. Blanc grabbed the cat with ease and ran off. The cat felt confused about what had just happened. Blanc checked its collar and the cat thrashed around and even bit him. After confirming it was the pink-collared calico, he decided the request was complete. The cat kept struggling and tried to escape from him. For some reason, animals did not seem to like Blanc. It was the same with monsters, since they always acted with extra hostility whenever he was near, even though he did nothing to them. He felt bad for the cat because it had been unlucky enough to be caught by him. He thought he should probably think twice before taking this kind of job again. Still, he managed to return the cat to its owner. Soon after, Blanc went to a trading company. The head of the company, Belmo, asked if he was really the one who took their request. Blanc confirmed he was. Belmo explained that the job was only about loading their goods into the wagons. Blanc saw that no one else had accepted it. Requests like this often risk damaging the goods, and the adventurer would be forced to pay for the damage. That was why everyone avoided the request. Jobs like this were hard physical labor with little pay. As for Blanc, he did not care about the reward. Even if he broke something and got fired, he could afford to cover the damage. It was not like he planned to make mistakes anyway. Belmo expressed hope that more adventurers like Blanc would take requests that helped the community, but he understood why most people preferred fighting monsters over simple and limited errands. He apologized if he sounded too direct and asked Blanc to work carefully. Blanc told him not to worry. Belmo then asked him to load the goods into the wagon as instructed, but Blanc said he already understood. He lifted 3 crates at once with ease. Everyone in the warehouse froze in shock. Blanc then asked if there was a specific loading order. Belmo stayed stunned for a moment before telling him to pack them from the back. He also asked Blanc not to carry that many at once. Blanc assured him the crates were light for him. The other workers were amazed because 1 crate was already heavy for a normal person. This encouraged the other employees to start moving faster. As Blanc continued his task, he heard some noise nearby. One worker told another not to push himself too hard. The other worker refused to back down because he did not want to lose to someone skinny like Blanc. He claimed he could lift the same number of crates. The man lifted the crates, but he was not strong enough to keep his balance and ended up falling toward a female employee. Belmo warned them to be careful, but it was already too late. Blanc stepped in and saved them, stopping the crates from falling while also protecting the two workers. He checked if they were fine, and they both thanked him with embarrassed faces. The man realized his mistake and apologized. Blanc said it was fine as long as no one got hurt. He opened the crates so Belmo could check the goods. Belmo confirmed that nothing seemed damaged. He felt grateful toward Blanc for helping them and for keeping his workers safe from an accident. Blanc said it was not a big deal. Belmo was surprised that Blanc was stronger than he looked. Blanc simply said he trained for it. Belmo suggested that he work with them instead of being an adventurer. Blanc smiled and said he appreciated the offer, but he liked his life as it was. Belmo felt it was a shame, but still told him that if he ever changed his mind, everyone would welcome him. After that, Blanc thought quietly about what had happened. For someone who only knew how to fight, hearing words like that made him feel grateful that he had restarted his adventurer life as a grade 10. From this point on, he planned to keep helping people however he could, even with small errands. Soon after, Lena congratulated Blanc for reaching grade 9. Blanc refused the promotion right away, which shocked her. Blanc asked what she was even talking about so suddenly. Lena said it was a promotion and angrily wondered why he was complaining. Blanc said he preferred staying as grade 10. Lena told him that was not how the system worked. She explained that grade 10 was a provisional status, and that once he finished a certain number of jobs, he would be promoted to grade 9 automatically. Blanc asked if there was no other option. Lena said there were no exceptions and that automatic promotions up to grade 8 were part of the guild rules. Blanc was shocked because he could not believe such rules could take away his dream of staying a grade 10 adventurer. It was Lena's first time seeing someone feel sad about a promotion. She said most people aimed for higher grades. Blanc said some adventurers liked staying as grade 10 like him, and thanked her for telling him. Lena pointed out that the word some only applied to Blanc. Blanc tried to explain that he had comrades who understood the pride of being in grade 10. Lena still did not understand why he disliked promotions, but she reminded him that adventurers needed to do what they could for the public. Blanc asked what she meant. Lena explained that grade 9 allowed him to take extermination requests for weak monsters. Even those monsters were real dangers for civilians with no fighting ability. Adventurers kept people safe by dealing with them. More importantly, their true duty was to clear monster-filled areas and expand safe places for humans. She said that was their greatest mission. Blanc stayed still as he quietly agreed with her. He had only been doing requests without thinking much about them. He realized he should also think about hunting monsters, at least for people who could not protect themselves. Lena said that being promoted to grade 9 did not mean he could no longer take grade 10 requests. She said he could still continue doing herb gathering jobs. Blanc felt happy when he heard that and wondered if he could still take low-level requests. If that was true, then he felt fine about getting promoted. Lena grew tired of arguing and decided to process his rank change right away. She asked for his adventurer's license, and Blanc realized the mystery box was involved again. After his license was updated, Lena congratulated Blanc for reaching grade 9. However, Blanc looked upset. Now that he had ranked up, Lena had a request she wanted to assign to him. Blanc felt surprised and confused about why she would give a task to someone who had just moved up from grade 10. Lena said she thought he was fine with it. Blanc said he was fine, but not emotionally. Lena then mentioned that a newly registered grade 10 adventurer had appeared. Suddenly, a girl walked up to them and asked Lena if Blanc was the person she had talked about. The girl happily asked if Blanc would be the one who was going to be her mentor. Blanc felt surprised that he already had a cute junior looking up to him. Hearing the word mentor left Blanc unimpressed, and he refused right away because he felt he was not the kind of person who could guide anyone. Lena worriedly asked why he would say something like that and reminded him to at least let the girl finish talking before deciding. Blanc explained that he was still a newbie and did not think he was qualified to teach anyone. Lena then said the guild was formally asking him to handle this task. She also pointed out that he was partly at fault. She reminded him that he kept taking many grade 10 requests, which made it harder for other rookie adventurers to rank up. Blanc said he had been accepting them, but it was not like he took every single one. Lena agreed, but the real issue was the type of requests he avoided. She reminded him that he often skipped animal-related requests like finding cats. The guild found it strange to mention, but those requests depended a lot on luck and had a low success rate. Compared to Hyria grass, rarer herbs or ones with higher contribution points were harder to recognize, which increased the difficulty and slowed promotion for others. Blanc had not even realized this. Back in his old days, requests piled up faster than they could handle, so he never imagined he could cause trouble by taking too many. He only wanted to help, but ended up making things harder for everyone. Lena then apologized because she felt she sounded like she was complaining and said Blanc did not really do anything wrong. She explained that the guild actually appreciated how he handled the overflow of errand requests, and the herbs he delivered had a strong reputation. She said no one had ever focused on grade 10 requests this much before, and this was the reason they were asking him for this favor. They wanted him to share his skills and knowledge with others. She assured him they would compensate him because knowledge was valuable. The guild would give him proper rewards. She even offered to raise his rank as a bonus but took it back right away when she saw his unamused face. After that, she asked if he would accept the request. The girl behind Blanc looked expectant. Blanc did not mind teaching the skills, but he wondered if he could even share knowledge he was not sure he truly understood. Still, if he had caused these problems, then he felt he could not ignore them. He decided to accept the request. The girl looked happy and thanked him. Blanc introduced himself in a simple way. The girl bowed at a 90-degree angle and introduced herself as Arya. She said she was still inexperienced but would do her best. Blanc told her not to be too formal, but Arya disagreed because she believed she was learning from a senior. Blanc felt impressed by her energy and became excited to gain a fellow errand lover. He hoped they would do their best together. His behavior left Arya confused. Lena then mentioned that Blanc might look a bit strange, but his skills were real. She told them to take care and wished them good luck. Blanc picked up the request form while Arya waved goodbye to Lena. Blanc's first task was to teach Arya how to handle grade 10 herb gathering requests. He asked how much she already knew. Arya said she only knew about Hiria grass and not much else. Blanc suggested starting with Hiria grass. Arya quickly uprooted one nearby and showed it to him. Blanc explained that she should not pull them out by the roots. He said the plant would grow again if she left the roots in the ground. He then showed her how to cut the stem carefully without harming the roots and wrap it in a damp cloth to keep it fresh. He mentioned that putting the grass and water inside a container also worked, but he did not really recommend it. Arya asked why. Blanc said Hiria grass was not rare or valuable, so it was not worth the extra effort. Arya agreed. Still, Blanc added that the same method worked for other herbs too, so it was good to remember. When he noticed her expression, he asked what was wrong. Arya called him amazing, just as Lena had said. Blanc replied that these were only basic things. Even so, Arya still thought it was impressive. She thought she understood Hiria grass, yet she never considered what to do with it after picking it. She said that grade 10 jobs might be called errands, but even simple herb gathering could not be done carelessly. Her words made Blanc show a faint smile. He eagerly agreed and warned her not to underestimate errands, because they would come back to trouble her. Arya laughed at his sudden saying and asked him to teach her more. Blanc continued the lesson and pointed to something near her foot. Arya looked surprised and asked what it was and if she should cut it the same way. Blanc said it was lulut grass, mainly used to restore mana. As he showed her how to harvest it, he warned her to be careful when using it. At that moment, he felt something strange nearby. Blanc looked behind him, but he saw nothing. He wondered what he had sensed a moment earlier. Arya asked what he had been warning her about, and Blanc explained that the grass would upset a person's stomach if it was not prepared the right way. For now, he thought he had imagined everything. Soon after, Lena congratulated Blanc for reaching grade 8. Blanc did not look happy, although he still thanked her. He nervously asked if he would stay stuck and never return to grade 7 if he refused the promotion exam. Lena told him to accept it because it was the rule. She also pointed out that ever since Blanc started guiding Arya, her growth had been amazing, and she reached grade 9 in a short time. Blanc felt bad for Arya because he assumed she was upset. Lena said one Blanc was already enough and that Arya was actually very happy. She explained that the program had only been a test, but now they planned to make the beginner mentorship a regular part of training. Blanc was relieved that it helped. Lenny then said she hoped Blanc would take a combat request someday. Blanc quietly gave her another non-combat request. Lenny said she would process it for him. At that moment, some adventurers started talking behind Blanc's back. They called him the infamous errand boy. One of them did not know the nickname, so another explained that Blanc was the rookie who refused combat quests and only took errands. Most people started hunting early and ranked up fast. He pointed out that a rookie who joined long after Blanc already reached grade 7. Since Blanc had no interest in leveling up or fighting monsters, they wondered why he even became an adventurer and why the guild still favored him. They complained that the guild even let him mentor a cute new girl. They thought it was unfair. Lena heard them and knew Blanc heard them too, so she asked him not to let their words bother him. She said errands were still important to the guild. Instead of looking down, Blanc looked proud. He could not believe he already had a nickname. Lena ignored his reaction and continued processing his request. After seeing Blanc leave, Lena leaned on the counter and smiled as she quietly called him a weirdo. Another receptionist named Rena slipped behind her and surprised her. Rena asked if the boy who just walked out was the one everyone talked about. She was surprised that he did not say anything even after being insulted right in front of them. She also thought Blanc had the kind of face that did not show much ambition, so the errand boy nickname felt fitting. Lena asked her not to say things like that because Blanc was actually helping them by taking leftover quests. Rena agreed that everyone knew that already. Appearance did not matter much for adventurers, but Blanc always looked grumpy and tired, and his hair was always messy. She said he was not bad looking, but his overall vibe ruined everything. She believed adventurers should show more energy than that. With that attitude, she said Blanc would never be good dating material. Lena suddenly shouted at her in anger, drawing the attention of nearby adventurers. She tried to tell Rena not to look at Blanc that way. Rena then loudly asked why they even worked at the front desk in the first place. She claimed they were there so they could marry a strong and rich adventurer, and nothing else. She mentioned that an adventurer named Alan, who recently reached grade 6, was good-looking and full of potential. There was also a grade 3 adventurer named Kevin who climbed the ranks alone and was handsome and from noble blood, which made him the full package. However, Lena remembered that Alan was transferring to a different base and Kevin was already from another branch. She wished Rena luck in meeting them. Rena complained about how harsh life was. Since they were talking about it, she said she never heard Lena mention anyone she liked. Their talk made the men around them excited and curious. Rena suggested trying to go after a high-ranking adventurer, but everyone else wanted them too, so the competition was tough. She then said it might be smarter to aim for low or mid-rankers early. Lena said she did not have anyone in mind and was not even looking for a partner. Still, Rena kept asking what kind of person Lena would choose if she had to pick. The men quietly leaned closer to listen. Lena could tell Rena would not stop until she answered. She finally said she might prefer a lower-ranked adventurer. Rena then offered to list some promising ones for her, but Lena quickly said that was not what she meant. She tried to explain that if she ever married someone, she hoped they would not do anything too dangerous. Rena asked how they would even earn money then. Lena called her blunt. She added that they would not live in luxury and that she wanted to keep working too. To her, being together mattered more than anything else. Rena remembered that her father had been an adventurer. Lena confirmed it and explained that he died during a mission. People said he was brave and honorable, but she felt that instead of chasing money or honor, she wished he had stayed with them. Rena now understood why she felt that way. The men who left while crying had already stopped listening to the girls. Rena thought it would be hard to date an adventurer if Lena carried feelings like that. Still, she noticed that the well-known errand boy from the rumors seemed like someone who would suit Lena, and she would not have to worry as much. After hearing everything, Rena finally realized that Blanc was the closest to Lena's idea of a good partner. Even so, she still believed that a man with no future would not be good for her, and she honestly thought Blanc seemed unreliable. She told Lena to at least choose someone who would make her happy. Lena gave a hesitant smile as she thought about Blanc. Meanwhile, Blanc met Arya again while he was doing an errand. He guessed she wanted him to go with her for a request, but he said he would not join if it involved fighting. Arya said it was only an Olim fruit collection request, and those fruits grew in the demon forest. She had never been inside the forest before and felt nervous to go alone, so she hoped he would come with her. When she mentioned it, Blanc realized he had never gone there either. Arya then noticed he was in the middle of a job and apologized for stopping him. She told him not to feel pressured and to help only when he had time. Blanc agreed and told her they could head out now. He just needed to finish his current task and asked her to wait for a moment. He ran off while carrying 5 crates of luggage. Arya thanked him but was shocked by how fast he moved. She stood there confused. To her, adventurers were amazing, and reaching grade 8 required that kind of physical ability. She knew she could not run like Blanc or carry heavy crates like that. She started to wonder if she could really become the kind of adventurer she dreamed of. She slapped her own cheeks because she felt it was not the right time to get discouraged. She had already decided to become stronger, so she promised herself she would keep trying even harder. Blanc cheered for her. Arya was speechless when she saw Blanc return so quickly. He apologized for keeping her waiting. She said it was fine and asked how he was already done when he had just left. He reminded her that they should get going since he did not want to be out too late. Far away, deep inside the demon forest, a girl fell to her knees as her voice shook. She could not believe what she was seeing. She thought they had already killed that thing, and she knew they did. Branches and roots began to wrap around her body. She complained, saying she only wanted a peaceful life and never wished to cause trouble. She asked this question to the 6th Demon King. Later in the demon forest, the two had already come across a snake monster. Arya used a magic attack called Water Ball. The monster was hurt and blinded by the water, giving her a clear opening. She took that chance to swing her sword down and landed a solid vertical slash. Blanc applauded Arya and praised her skill. Arya said she had trained to become an adventurer, and Blanc could see that. He also noticed that only weak monsters appeared near the entrance of the forest, so even low-rank adventurers could handle many of them. He asked if she had always wanted to become an adventurer. She explained that 3 years earlier, the town she lived in was attacked by the Black Dragon. Blanc froze as he wondered if the Black Dragon she mentioned was the same one he knew. Arya continued and shared how the soldiers of the kingdom fought with everything they had, but still could not win. The town was destroyed, and everyone ran for their lives. She could only cry and thought it was the end. She was close to giving up. At that moment, the Black Emperor appeared. She kept talking and described what happened during the battle between the Black Emperor and the Black Dragon. After seeing him fight, she decided to become an adventurer who could protect people as well. That was why the Black Emperor became her role model. She had no idea that the same Black Emperor stood right in front of her. Blanc felt a strange feeling inside. He never expected his actions would inspire someone. A monster tried to sneak up on Arya, but Blanc killed it with ease. Arya looked back and asked if something was wrong, and Blanc said it was nothing. To shift the mood, he then commented on how Arya showed good form with her sword. At that moment, Arya discovered the Olim fruits. Blanc saw them and his mind filled with knowledge about the fruits. Arya asked if there was anything important she should know before picking them. Blanc said there was not much and that she only needed to avoid bruising them, just like with most fruits. He also explained that if the stem stayed too long, it could scratch the other fruits during transport. Arya promised to be careful. Blanc, however, felt more worried about the strong magical pressure coming from deeper inside the forest. He noticed that it was greater than the pressure of the Black Dragon. He realized he had not imagined it earlier. He remembered that the third Demon King lived in this forest and wondered if that was the presence he felt. This was the Demon Forest, yet Blanc felt no hostility at all. He wondered if this was normal. He then told Arya that they needed to head back before it became dark. He was curious, but for now he chose to observe and wait. Soon after, he accepted another job, this time harvesting fruits in an orchard using his sword skills. In an instant, the fruits were placed into crates. The workers were impressed because the stems were cut cleanly, and none of the fruits were damaged. Unlike Olim fruits, Orange stems were tough. Doing each one by hand would have been a nightmare. One of the workers said Blanc was amazing. Thanks to him, they finished the harvest in record time and even asked him to join their orchard full-time. Blanc appreciated their offer, but he refused. Afterward, the friendly gatekeeper mentioned that Blanc had been working a bit too hard lately. Blanc looked confused because he did not understand what he meant. The gatekeeper reminded him that he had been going out to the plains every day to pick herbs and running around town helping people. He said taking breaks was important too. Blanc said he did not feel like he was overdoing anything, which the gatekeeper found hard to believe. The gatekeeper added that Claret was a great town and told Blanc he should try relaxing and exploring it sometime. Blanc then realized he had been chasing one job after another and never thought about taking it easy. He understood it would not be bad to slow down a little. A stall owner then came over to Blanc with a meat skewer. He said most people knew the Demon Forest was the main attraction for adventurers, but there was much more to their town. Blanc asked what else there was, and the man pointed at his grilled skewers as one example. Blanc was impressed by how well he promoted his business. The gatekeeper warned Blanc not to fall for it too fast. Blanc wondered if the man was joking, but the man said he was serious. Blanc still agreed they had a point. He said it would be a waste to visit another land and ignore the culture and experiences there. He decided he would make time to explore Claret more often. The gatekeeper found Blanc's sudden seriousness a little strange. The stall owner cheered him on and suggested he try eating his way through Claret. He handed Blanc another meat skewer as a freebie. Blanc asked if he was sure, and the man said it was fine since Blanc had helped him many times. He added that many other townspeople were grateful for Blanc's help too. Blanc was surprised to hear this. The man asked why he looked so shocked when he was the one handling all their requests. Blanc said it felt normal to him because he was an adventurer. The gatekeeper said that was not the point. He explained that before Blanc arrived, they used to run out of herbs all the time, but now they had plenty of healing potions thanks to Blanc's regular foraging. The stall owner asked Blanc to take the skewer as a token of thanks since they counted on him. Blanc understood and took a bite of the free food right away. The man told him not to be shy and to eat as much as he wanted. Still, he wished there were more adventurers like Blanc who would take on their requests. He said promotions and rewards were tied to harder missions, so it was tough for regular townspeople to ask for help. Most monster hunting jobs came from the guild, research labs, or nobles, so of course, the pay was better than the simple errands they offered. Blanc did not remember food tasting this good before he came to Claret. He wondered why he had been so lifeless back then. He felt sure it was because of his master, and he believed he owed her that much. The man beside him suddenly said he still understood the feeling. He disliked it, yet he admitted that monster hunts were actually cool. The gatekeeper agreed since moments like that stirred the adventurer spirit. Blanc added that simple errands could be cool as well. The two men went quiet. They knew he was a kind person, but his way of thinking still felt unusual, even though they did not mind it. They only reminded him not to worry Lena too much. A moment later, the rest of the townspeople walked over and told the men not to keep Blanc to themselves. Everyone gathered around him and offered their goods for free as thanks for his help. Blanc tried to pay, but they insisted he accept everything. The skewer seller and the gatekeeper watched with warm smiles. After a while, another shop owner noticed Blanc walking down the street carrying many gifts. She assumed things had gotten out of hand for the charming troublemaker. Blanc thanked her but felt bothered by the new nickname. The woman then offered him flowers as well. Blanc said it was already enough and that her kindness alone meant a lot. Then he remembered something and asked if she had vegetables that grew well in small home gardens. She guessed he planned to start backyard planting. Blanc said he had thought about it since his yard was large. The woman agreed it was a good idea and recommended tamaroot, a plant rich in nutrients and easy to care for. It hardly needed water and still grew fast. Blanc decided to take some and asked for more suggestions. Later, Blanc managed to plant everything by himself. He felt glad that his mystery knowledge helped him with gardening too. It gave him something new to enjoy. When he thought about it, this was the first time he had relaxed in this house since he bought it. He took a bath and let his body sink into the warm water, feeling calm for the first time in a while. He realized that having a day off was the best feeling he had in a long time. He could not believe he went so long without noticing how good it felt. He thought it was a waste. He felt sure there were many things he passed by without noticing because he had been too tired to care. He soaked in the warm water for a while and then stepped out. He decided it was time to return to work the next day. Even with his new motivation, Lena still could not believe he accepted another gathering request. It was an Olem fruit job in the Demon Forest. She said Arya took the same request not long ago, so there was a chance he might meet her there. The forest was still dangerous near the entrance, so she reminded him to be careful. Lena waved goodbye with her usual receptionist smile. After that, she sighed and muttered about how Rena had said things before. Now she felt strangely nervous around him. While she thought about Blanc, another adventurer walked up and asked her to process a request. Right then, someone rushed into the guild and shouted that there was bad news. He was injured, so the others asked what happened and if he was all right. The man explained that a tyrant golem appeared in the demon forest. Everyone was shocked because it was a known grade 3 monster. They assumed he had gone deep into the forest, but he said the monster appeared near the entrance. Someone pointed out that even in the deeper parts of the forest, no grade 4 monster had ever been reported, so a grade 3 monster near the entrance made no sense. People panicked and asked if the soldiers had already been notified. On top of that, the man reported that there were 3 of those monsters. The guild staff hurried to find any adventurer above grade 3 to handle the threat. Still, in a small city like this, they doubted a strong adventurer would be around. The Demon Forest usually did not attract elite fighters, and stronger adventurers always traveled to bigger cities. At that moment, the branch leader Auk arrived and announced that an emergency mission had been issued about the tyrant golems. He explained that adventurers in grade 8 and below had to stay away from the forest, and those in grade 7 and above had to prepare for city patrol and defenses. Rena pointed out that O might have been a former grade 4 adventurer, but handling this alone sounded too much for him. Off reminded everyone that this was a mandatory emergency request, and that the guild contract required them to follow it. One of the rookies asked what he meant, and a senior adventurer told him they had no choice but to obey and move out. Just then, Lena rushed to Ao and told him that a grade 9 and a grade 8 adventurer were still in the forest on missions. Off was shocked because he remembered that monster hunts usually started at grade 7. Lena explained it was the Olem fruit collecting request, which started at grade 9. Off said that most lower ranks usually took hunting jobs on the plains first to rank up, but now the timing was terrible for them. Lena added that those two often accepted simple errand jobs instead of combat tasks. Ao guessed that one of them was the famous errand guy. He appreciated the help they gave with small jobs, but if that was all they had done, he thought they would be useless in a fight. Lena said Arya had taken monster hunts from time to time, but Blanc had never been seen fighting monsters even though he always carried a sword. She feared the worst. Ao apologized and said they could not afford to worry about those two right now. Lena asked if he truly meant that, and O firmly told her he did. In a crisis like this, they could not spare people to rescue low-ranked adventurers. At best, they would keep watch while investigating the situation. If someone was an adventurer, they had to protect themselves. Right now, protecting the town came first, and he told her to forget about them. Lena was close to crying as she tried to say Blanc's and Arya's names. Meanwhile, in the demon forest, Arya lay on the ground with her injured arm. She could not hold her sword or stand anymore. She cried quietly, thinking she did not want to die like that. She tried to call out to her idol, the Black Emperor. A tyrant golem stood over Arya, ready to finish her off. Somewhere else, Blanc walked into the demon forest without much thought. He noticed that there were no Olem fruits or herbs in sight, which felt strange. He wondered if Arya had gone ahead and taken too many, even though he had taught her not to the other day. Even if monsters had eaten them, there should have been some tracks or signs. He wondered if it was even possible for something to disappear completely from where it was. He realized that at this rate, he might finally fail at his errands. He could not accept that. especially since he had just established himself as the errand guy and could not afford to lose the trust of the guild or the townspeople. Then he sensed something unusual and immediately looked toward the source. He felt the presence of a very powerful monster. He guessed it might be grade 3 or even higher. He remembered that monsters above grade 5 were not supposed to appear in this forest. As he went deeper, he finally understood. He had discovered something that Claret's adventurers could not handle. It was a wood element, plant-based monster called the Tyrant Golem, estimated to be grade 3 in difficulty. He could see that it had been absorbing the forest's magic and life energy from the trees, which explained why plants that relied on mana were dying. He was surprised it had been hiding in the uncharted depths of the forest. In other words, this monster was the reason he might fail his first quest. He decided to fight it and then return to his regular errands. At that moment, he sensed someone else nearby. He heard a familiar voice faintly asking for help. He froze as he saw an injured Arya calling weakly for help. His body moved on instinct. He grabbed Arya, protecting her from the monster's attack while cutting it in half. The sliced monster roared in pain. Blanc quickly used a healing potion, pouring it into her mouth. Arya's wounds disappeared instantly. That would keep her stable for now. He had never really needed the potion himself, but he was glad he always carried high-quality healing potions. Suddenly, he noticed a strange haze. He felt confused and remembered that his master had taught him about it before. He had forgotten the details, so he decided to ask her the next time they met. As he carried Arya back to town, he felt something was wrong. He looked back and saw an attack flying straight toward him. He quickly dodged by flying into the sky while still holding Arya in his arms. He wondered what was happening in this forest. 2 more tyrant golems had appeared, and Blanc realized how badly the forest had changed. One of the monsters fired a shot, but Blanc easily slipped away from it in the air. If there had been only one, he could have believed it wandered out of the deeper part of the forest by accident, but seeing 3 of them raised real doubts. Another monster swung a punch. Blanc was surprised by how fast it moved even with its huge size, yet he still avoided the hit. He had never heard of golem-type monsters forming groups or coordinating their attacks. He remembered they were not supposed to be this smart. That was when he realized someone else was controlling these monsters from the shadows. He apologized to Arya as he shifted the way he carried her and promised to finish things quickly. He leaped higher to dodge another attack and noticed how strong the strike felt. Still, if they could not touch him, their power did not matter. With one clean swing of his sword, he cut the 2 tyrant golems in half as if they were made of soft material. Even so, he felt a bit disappointed because his skill was still not close to his master's level. Still, his sword strike was not too bad either. Blanc wondered what to do with the tyrant golems he had defeated. If he left them where they were, the guild would eventually discover that he had taken down the monsters by himself. He imagined Lena getting excited and giving him a sudden promotion. If that happened, he would not be able to accept simple, low-ranked errands anymore and would be pushed to handle the noble requests that had been piling up. His face grew tense as he pictured that future. He could not let it happen, so he needed to erase all signs of the battle. Arya had seen the tyrant golem with her own eyes, and even if he broke the body with his sword, the leftover magic would not fade away. There was only one way to remove everything completely. If he used the special elemental magic that only he could cast, nothing would remain. His master had warned him never to use it, which made him hesitate for a while, but he chose to ignore that warning. Arya was unconscious and no one else had witnessed anything. If he cleaned everything quickly and returned right after, he believed it would be fine. Right before he cast his magic, he stopped. He sensed that something felt wrong and tried to understand what was happening. He suddenly felt a kind of magic that was far stronger than the tyrant golem or even the black dragon. It was much denser and more overwhelming than a grade 0 threat. He could not believe something with that kind of power was hiding in the forest. Soon, the strange magic spread into the defeated tyrant golems. Blanc could not believe what he was seeing. The broken parts of the golems merged into one huge creature. He had never heard of anything like that happening before. The combined monster towered over Blanc and started firing beams from its 3 eyes. Blanc dodged the first shots and blocked the last ones to protect Arya, who was still unconscious. He realized the fight was getting harder. When he deflected a physical strike from the monster, the force pushed him back. During the clash, he noticed the material of the golem had not changed, but its strength and durability had increased. The monster kept attacking. As Blanc dodged, he understood that the creature had absorbed the dense magic from earlier to make itself stronger. Once he figured that out, he knew dealing with it would not be as difficult. He also realized it was the perfect target for releasing his frustration from his failed quest. The monster tried to fire more beams, but Blanc slashed its eyes with his sword, cracking 2 of them. He pressed harder and sliced the monster's head in half. It let out a confused growl before the end. Blanc said it was nothing surprising. If the creature hardened itself with magic, then he simply needed to strike it with stronger magic. He swung his sword with full force and cut the monster straight down the middle. The final eye was destroyed and the monster burst into dust. Blanc could not believe it vanished without leaving any useful materials. It could have been a nightmare for other adventurers. At least he could consider himself lucky that he was able to erase the evidence. As Blanc carried Arya on his back, he reached the gate and met a grumpy old man who complained that they still had the nerve to return. Blanc wondered who this old man was. A moment later, Arya finally came back to her senses. She looked around and tried to understand where she was. Lena entered the room and felt relieved to see her awake. Arya was confused when she learned that she was now inside the guild, even though she remembered being in the forest for a request. She said that things had turned terrible and shared that a vicious golem she had never seen before appeared in the forest. Lena told her not to worry because the guild already knew about it and she was now safe. Arya felt relieved and asked if the guild had sent someone to rescue her. Lena tried to explain who it was, but a loud shout suddenly interrupted them. Arya wondered what was happening. Augh was crying as he welcomed them back, happy that they returned alive. He hugged Blanc tightly like a rag doll and complained that they made him worry too much. He even apologized for not going there to save them himself. Arya peeked from the room and looked at Lena with confusion while pointing at Augh. Lena explained that the large, loud man was the branch leader named Augh. She said he was usually strict but also very emotional. Blanc looked empty and seemed to have accepted everything. Lena then told Arya that it was Blanc who rescued her. Arya was shocked. Lena shared that Blanc happened to be on a mission in the demon forest as well. Arya assumed that Blanc defeated the golem. Lena said that according to Blanc, the golem had already vanished when he found her. Arya could not believe that had happened. Lena then asked Arya to tell them what really happened in the forest. Lena took down the summary. She repeated Arya's report about a large outbreak of monsters that came from deep inside the forest, and the tyrant golem likely appeared as part of that group. She escaped the swarm but was struck by the tyrant golem right after and lost consciousness just as it went in for the kill. This meant Blanc had probably arrived in time to save her. Still, neither of them had ever seen him fight or take any combat requests. Even so, a battle had been seen from the town, so someone clearly fought the monster. Arya's injuries were fully healed too, which meant whoever defeated the monster must have done that as well. When Lena mentioned it, Arya realized she felt no pain and wondered who had healed her. Lena had no idea. For now, they could only assume a high-ranking adventurer happened to be nearby. Maybe someone like a grade 0 who did not stay in one place. This made Arya think of the person she admired. She doubted it was really them, but she still wanted to thank whoever saved her. She tried to thank Blanc, but he was still being used by the branch leader as a plaything. Arya held back since he looked busy. Rena eventually scolded Augh to stop and threw Blanc aside. A month later, Blanc asked to take another request. Lena looked unsure. She said he would be able to take combat missions in the demon forest once he ranked up to around grade 6 or grade 5. It turned out requests for grade 7 and below were suspended, and only those at that grade and above could keep working as part of the task force in the forest investigation. Blanc said it had been a whole month already, and he could not believe they were still examining the forest. Lena explained that the forest was huge and that the adventurers' safety mattered most. Low-rank adventurers were taking all the town jobs they usually avoided, so there was almost nothing left to assign. She then happily told Blanc it was finally his chance to take the promotion exam. However, Blanc was already gone from sight. He walked out of the guild while looking defeated. He had not expected a monster like that to create so much trouble. If there were no jobs left, then he felt he had no choice. He could simply go home and look after the garden again. But he soon realized that people were having a hard time because they could not take gathering missions, and he was stuck without work as well. He was only sitting around and waiting for someone else to solve the problem. He wondered if that was the kind of choice someone who called himself an errand adventurer who wanted to help people should make. Blanc made up his mind to handle the cause on his own. That way, everything would be settled. No one should interfere with his life as an errand boy. Blanc moved quickly toward the town walls and slipped out while avoiding the eyes of the gatekeepers. He headed straight for the forest. The others had said that the demon forest was huge. For the moment, Blanc tried following the same magic signature he had sensed before. It would have been faster to fly, but he knew that if something sensed his magic, it would become troublesome. After some thought, he chose to simply run. It did not matter how large the forest was to him. If he kept going, he would eventually reach his goal. As he moved forward, he noticed some of the monsters Arya had mentioned earlier fleeing from the deeper parts of the forest. They were grade 6 rock grizzlies. The monsters tried to jump at him, but Blanc easily avoided them while feeling a bit sorry. He was in a hurry and did not have time to deal with them. He waved at them in a playful way before continuing on his path. However, as he moved deeper into the forest, Blanc encountered more high-ranked monsters like chaos monkeys, berserk trents, and even more tyrant trents. He could not ignore them anymore because they were getting in his way. He remembered hearing that monsters above grade 4 should appear in this forest. Still, he believed people only said that because they had not explored this far before. Even if these monsters were only grade 3, the constant fights would wear anyone down, and a person would need at least a grade 2 level skill to keep going. This made Blanc think about his training days with his master. In the past, Klula trained him in swordsmanship. She said he would die if he lost focus. While they trained, monsters often interrupted. Instead of helping him, Klula scolded him every time he let his guard down. Blanc did not think much of it back then. But when he looked back now, he realized that training was not something a kid should have gone through. 3 days passed and Blanc kept exploring the forest. He checked in with the guild every day so they would not become suspicious. Even if he finished today, it would still take him 3 days to return. He also did not want to be squeezed by Aw's huge chest again, soaked in his emotional sweat. At last, Blanc reached the center of the forest's magic. He remembered how strong the fusion tyrant golem had been, but the one standing before him now belonged to a completely different level. Blanc walked toward the huge plant bulb and said he knew someone was inside. He felt tired because he had spent 3 full days reaching this place, so he wanted the person inside to show themselves. Someone inside heard him and started attacking with long roots. Blanc avoided the roots as they tried to stab him. He felt surprised by this kind of welcome. The plant bulb slowly opened and a woman stepped out. She said she recognized the aura coming from him, but something felt strange. She asked if Blanc was human. Blanc said he was, and he also understood that the woman was a demon lord. The woman then asked why a human carried that kind of presence. Blanc felt confused. She explained that Blanc had the aura of the 6th demon lord. Blanc wondered what she meant since he had been told there were only 5 demon lords. For now, he felt relieved that they could at least understand each other with words. If he could settle this through peaceful talk, that would be best. He remembered hearing that the 3rd demon lord was friendly toward humans. The 3rd demon lord said something felt very wrong. She asked why the 6th demon lord would need a woman, just like how those tyrant golems appeared the other day. Blanc apologized and said he had no idea what she meant. He asked her to explain. The 3rd said the previous 6th demon lord was different from the rest. It was born from the hatred of the gods and the stars, a creation of magic that erased everything. It had no reason and no intelligence. It existed only to destroy. She wondered why the aura and presence of the 6th demon lord were with Blanc. She decided she would confirm it herself. Her tone grew serious and she changed form. Blanc understood that talking would not help anymore. He knew things were turning bad. He cut down the branches that attacked him, but using his sword against her was not easy. Even if they spoke the same language, a demon lord was still an enemy of humanity. The 3rd tried to finish him with a final attack. Blanc realized he needed to get serious. He quietly muttered a chant and cut through her attack with ease. The 3rd looked shocked as her branches turned into dust. Blanc still felt disappointed. After 3 years of training, he was still getting pushed this hard. He assumed his master would be furious with him at this rate. Blanc summoned several god-slaying spears and destroyed all the roots of the 3rd Demon King. Since no one was around, he did not worry about anyone seeing him use magic. It became a moment for him to fight without holding back. Still, the 3rd seemed to be in denial about something, which left Blanc confused. She claimed there was a trace of the 6th Demon Lord's attribute in his attack, even though it had only been a basic all-elements spell. She grew angry and kept attacking while asking what Blanc really was. Blanc dodged and felt that the same question should be aimed at her instead. He noticed even more roots and branches growing around him. Using a sword would have been the better choice to cut them down, yet he still found himself getting pushed back. Blanc tried to offer answers if the 3rd was willing to speak, but she remained silent. While avoiding her attacks, he thought about how even demon lords did not have endless mana. He searched for an opening to counter, but the 3rd suddenly became serious. She decided she had no other choice. She summoned more branches and closed in on Blanc from every direction. He looked surprised, but he still managed to block them with a barrier. The 3rd smirked, which confused him further. He did not notice the branches rising from below him. They came from his blind spot, the ground he stood on. Blanc was caught off guard as the branches wrapped around him and grew thicker until they formed a large cocoon-shaped tree. This was the 3rd's heaven-sealing demon tree. The technique left her tired, yet she expected Blanc to talk now. Inside the tree, Blanc tried to cut the wood with his sword, but it did not move at all. He even used the same method he once used to cut down the fused tyrant golem. However, the magic flowing through the 3rd belonged to a far higher level. He noticed that she had used up a lot of her power and must have poured most of her strength into this cocoon-shaped prison. Still, when it came to mana reserves, Blanc knew he would not lose to anyone. He made his mana thicker and stronger, shaping it into his usual spear of darkness. He increased its speed with wind magic and prepared to break through. When he struck the wooden wall, the entire surface exploded. As the smoke cleared, Blanc became surprised by what he saw. His attack did no damage at all. He could not believe it. He had poured in mana that matched a demon. Outside, the 3rd laughed and said regular magic would not work. She said it was the same magic once used to seal the sixth demon lord. Blanc wondered why people kept mentioning the sixth. His stomach twisted and he wondered if he was just hungry. He wanted to go home and eat a grilled skewer. His spells and sword skills did not work, and that only meant one thing. The darkness inside him grew heavier. His master was not around, but his master once said there was no point in holding back when fighting a demon. Blanc began to release something inside him. The third flinched and stared at the tree cocoon with worry. Blanc said his next magic attack always wiped him out, and thinking about the long walk home made it even harder. The darkness formed a long lance that he called the Lance of Endings. With a swing of his hand, the lance shot through the cocoon and almost struck the third. Blanc calmly broke free from the cocoon and said he managed to get out. Right after that, dizziness hit him. He had burned through his mana with that attack. He knew he could not keep fighting any longer. Suddenly the third leaned closer to him and said she had finally understood something. Blanc got startled and could not believe he had let his guard down. The third moved even closer and claimed that Blanc carried the heart of the sixth demon lord. Blanc felt confused and wondered what she meant about the heart. The third cheerfully explained that they once thought they had erased everything. No one expected the heart to survive and end up inside a living human. She did not know how it happened, but it made things more interesting for her. She finally understood why Blanc gave her a strange feeling. Still confused, Blanc wondered what she was talking about. He thought he had never seen or heard of this sixth demon lord she mentioned. He also wondered what she meant by erased and what the sixth demon lord even was. The third demon lord simply said the sixth was their enemy, not only to the demon lords but also to humans, to the gods, and to the entire planet. Blanc still looked confused. The third asked if it still did not remind him of anything. Blanc felt he could not be blamed, since he was not about to trust someone who had just killed him. The third said she was not even trying to make him trust her. Blanc then admitted he did not know who he was either. He assumed things like that could really happen. Still, if his master did not say anything about it, then it was probably fine. What mattered now was whether he was her enemy or not. The third stared at him for a moment and then smirked. She burst out laughing and said he was funny. She told him to relax and promised she would not bother him or the townspeople anymore. Blanc felt unsure if he should believe her. The third said it was only a one-time thing and that she usually never caused trouble unless someone attacked her first. If she really wanted to wipe everything out, she could have done it any time. Blanc realized she was right. With that kind of power, destroying not only Claret but even the whole kingdom would have been easy for her. However, she had never done it, so maybe she truly had no interest in destruction. Still, he wondered what caused all this trouble now. As if she read his thoughts, the third said she was only curious about the source of the sixth's presence. Now that she knew he had no will or intent of his own, she lost interest. She also said she could tell Blanc preferred a peaceful world, unlike the sixth, and she liked that. Blanc felt surprised she noticed. The third explained she could tell because he only defended himself and never tried to attack her. She said she loved peace too, so she felt a small sense of connection with him. Even so, she worried things might not go smoothly if Lilith found him. Blanc wondered who Lilith was. The third explained that Lilith was the first demon lord, the ruler of dragons and beasts, and that she hated the sixth. Blanc did not want to be hated by someone he had never even met. The third also said the sixth was still angry about the death of his favorite vassal 3 years ago. Blanc remembered killing the black dragon. He then wondered what kind of person the sixth demon lord was to be hated that much. The third said she could not say more because she did not want to remember. Then she said she would help him if he ever got into trouble. Blanc felt surprised. The third finally shared her name, Knuckle, and asked for his. Blanc told her and she seemed happy to hear it. She said she hoped they could play again another time. Blanc said he might if he felt like it. Knuckle told him to promise. Right after that, Knuckle disappeared from sight. Blanc's thoughts returned to his 3-day trip. He could not believe he went through all these problems just for a quiet life. Now that things were over, he only wanted to go home. He felt like he kept getting pulled into stranger situations every time. Later in the guild, Lena and Arya were happy to see Blanc after a long time. Lena said the forest started calming down 3 days ago, so starting that day, they were allowed to take regular requests no matter what rank they had. Blanc felt relieved when he heard it. Lena then guessed he wanted to take a request right away, but Blanc turned it down for the moment because he wanted to go home and take a bath. Arya reminded him to hurry because the bathhouse, even though it was large, became crowded very fast. Blanc wondered what a bathhouse was. Lena asked if he had never been in one. Arya said it was big and comfortable. Lena invited him to join them since they were also heading there. Blanc soon went to the bathhouse and enjoyed the hot water that came from a nearby volcano, but he was surrounded by old men from every side. Even the branch leader was there. Blanc had become well liked by the older men because of his usual errands, and they wanted to scrub his back to show their thanks. One of them pointed out how popular he was. Blanc liked hot springs, but he still believed the peaceful bath at home was the best. Even so, returning to this kind of welcome felt fine. He relaxed so much that he slowly sank into the water, which made the others panic. The girls heard the noise from outside and hoped nothing bad was happening. At that moment of calm, Blanc did not know that a dark plan was already moving within the peaceful town. Somewhere else in the town, a man stood in front of a huge water tank with a beast inside it. Meanwhile, in the Lydian Empire's Black Forest, Cluel felt tired as she kept facing trouble even though she was supposed to be retired from adventuring. She spoke to the Grade 1 and Grade 2 adventurers who hid instead of helping her. She dealt with a new problem almost every day. She had been tempted to leave the country long ago, but the Empire convinced her to stay. They agreed to delay the search for the Black Emperor only if she, the Sword Saint, filled the empty role he left behind. They clearly could not afford to lose her as well. She knew she could move to another nation at any time, but it was still annoying because she had no other choice except to handle everything. More importantly, she did not want that boy to return and get caught in this growing mess. She remembered the first time Blanc had spoken up and asked her about something he wanted to try. Cluel was surprised back then and gave him a warm hug. She told him he would be fine and that he had nothing to worry about. 3 years had passed since that moment and she assumed he had grown a lot. Even so, she still worried about his emotional growth compared to how he was when they first met. In the past, Cluel received a tip about a group called the Demon Blood Society. It was confirmed that they tried to fuse humans and demons to create a new kind of being. Their group included humans and demonkin. Nations across the continent treated this matter with great concern. Cluel read reports about their actions, such as child abductions and how they threw the children away if they failed as test subjects. She found it sickening and accepted the request to stop them. She joined several adventurers and knights, took down the group, and rescued the kidnapped children. After defeating some of the members, Cluel asked the knights who she needed to face next. She soon met a scientist who laughed like a maniac and claimed he would show her his strongest creation and final weapon. But all Cluel saw was a child. She could not believe a grown man called a child his masterpiece. Before she could plan how to save the child, he suddenly attacked with dark powers and killed the mad scientist, leaving only the scientist's lower half standing. When she saw the child's cold stare, Cluel felt a chill run through her. The magical pressure coming from him felt like a storm of wild mana. She froze for a moment and admitted to herself that this might be a challenge even for her. The child attacked again. Cluel dodged and realized this fight was far beyond what she expected. If she held back, she would lose. She did not want to use her full strength against a child, but she had no choice. The world would never allow someone this dangerous to exist. Even if he lived, she could not picture what future he might face. But then she noticed he looked like he was in pain. This shocked her. She could not bring herself to finish him. She rushed forward, leaped over him, and pinned him to the floor. She could not kill a child whose future had been stolen so he could be used as a weapon. She could not believe the world expected her to take his life too. The child breathed heavily. Cluel saw that he had run out of mana and could no longer move. She told him it was over and that he was now safe. She held him in her arms and asked him to come with her. Cluel had only known the life of an adventurer, so she guided Blanc down that same path. Powers like his always attracted people who wanted to use them. Still, she believed that if he found his own will and his own reason to move forward, he would be fine. After all, he was her dear disciple. She wondered what fun things he had been doing and hoped he would tell her everything when he came back. At the same time, Blanc felt cheerful as he stood in front of the bulletin board filled with low-ranked requests. There were so many of them. He finally realized how precious normal daily life was. He believed this was an important lesson and planned to report it to his master. Meanwhile, a boy glared at him with frustration. He thought Blanc was nothing more than a weak errand boy. Blanc looked back with a puzzled expression. The boy believed he was different from Blanc. He felt sure he would rise in rank fast, become a real adventurer, and earn a lot of money. He then raised his voice at the reception counter and asked for a grade 8 request. If he finished it, he would finally reach grade 7. Lena told the boy Gajil that she understood his feelings, but all requests came from clients, and the guild could not create new ones. Rena added that there were plenty of grade 7 requests, but Gajil said they were not good enough. Other adventurers gathered around them, listening as Gajil asked loudly if there were any grade 8 requests linked to the Demon Forest. Lena explained that lower-ranked adventurers were still not cleared for forest-related jobs. Gajil complained that they had already checked everything and found nothing new. The branch leader finally stepped in and said there had been no signs of strange activity in the forest for a while. He then announced the lifting of restrictions on the Demon Forest. Still, because of past incidents, anyone who noticed anything unusual had to report it right away. Gajil grew excited. Ah whispered something to Lena while Gajil continued to push for a request and told her to hurry. Lena said the only grade 8 request available was the Olim fruit gathering job. Gajil looked disappointed and asked if there was a monster hunting request instead. Lena said there was none and told him he could take a different request outside the forest if he was not happy with the options. In the end, Gajil accepted the job and told her to handle the paperwork. Standing behind him in line, Blanc thought the boy seemed to be having a rough time too. Gajeel reached the forest entrance and kept complaining in his mind. He could not believe he was doing another errand after so long. Still, once he finished this request, he would become grade 7. The problem was he did not even know where the olem fruits grew. He thought he could simply grab any fruit he saw, but no one told him they were hard to find. At this rate, he felt he would fail the request. He assumed the outer parts of the forest were already picked clean by others, so he moved deeper into the woods while ignoring ropes and dangers. He kept searching, but he still could not find a single fruit. Then a monster jumped out from a blind spot and attacked him. He dodged and fell to the ground. He was shocked to see a mad frog in the area. He remembered it was a grade 8 monster, so he believed he could defeat it. He prepared to fight, but the frog was suddenly blown apart in an instant. Gajeel froze in confusion because he had not even touched it. Something crawled out from the thick woods and rushed toward him. Gajeel did not see it coming and was sent flying into a nearby tree. He fought to stay conscious even though he already looked close to collapsing. He recognized the monster that slithered in front of him. The monster in front of him was a grade 6 assassin snake. He assumed the mad frog from earlier had been taken out by this snake. He realized he had gone too deep into the forest. He needed to run away, but his body would not move. At that moment, the snake suddenly exploded into pieces. Flesh and blood scattered over Gajeel. When he saw the headless monster fall to the ground, he felt confused. He wondered if someone had saved him, but he also could not ignore the chance that the monster had not exploded on its own. He remembered the guild said the forest was already cleared. Someone had attacked the snake, yet no one was around. There was not even a trace of a presence, which felt more frightening than the assassin snake itself. The thought made Gajeel realize he did not want to die. He just wanted to go home to his family. Blanc then appeared and commented on how badly Gajeel looked. Gajeel, still confused, wondered why Blanc had reached such a deep part of the forest. Blanc made him drink a potion by forcing the bottle into his mouth. Gajeel drank all of it and stood up. He grabbed Blanc by the neck because it still hurt. Blanc asked if he was really still in pain. He tried to scold him again but stopped when he noticed that every injury was gone. Even the bones and organs that seemed damaged were healed right away. Blanc thought it might have been better if he'd poured the potion slowly, but it was already finished. Gajeel knew this kind of potion was something a low-ranked adventurer could never afford. He asked why Blanc wasted it on him. Blanc wondered if the potion had not worked well. Gajeel said that was not the point and grew upset that Blanc used it on him. Blanc simply said that Gajeel had been dying. Gajeel called him an idiot and pointed out how rare and expensive that potion was. He said he could never pay him back. Blanc told him he did not save him for money and asked him not to worry. Gajeel said that was still not the point and asked if the potion was really that expensive. Blanc said it did not matter even if it was. He used it because he wanted to. Gajeel then reminded him how he kept calling him errand boy the whole time. Blanc said it sounded nice. Gajeel wondered why he looked so happy. Blanc then said they should leave since he could move now. On the way, Blanc assumed that Gajeel had gotten lost. He said that olem fruits did not grow that deep in the forest. The terrain looked tricky, but he still told him to remember the path they were walking on. Gajeel wondered how Blanc knew about his request. Blanc said that Lena had told him to accept the same request as Gajeel. This made Gajeel realize that the receptionist and the branch leader might have known from the start that he would fail this task on his own. Blanc then remembered that Gajeel's mother was sick. Gajeel became confused and asked how Blanc had known that. Blanc then started explaining that olem fruits were used in potions for strength and recovery. The potion that Gajeel's mother needed required olem fruit as one of its ingredients. He said it was fine if Gajeel thought gathering quests were simple errands. But if no one collected these things, then the medicine could never be made. Even small requests mattered if they were ignored. He told him not to look down on errands because they were important too. Gajeel looked defeated. Blanc then made it clear that the guild did not send him to Gajeel because they had given up on him. They were worried about him pushing himself too hard while trying to help his mother and little sister. Earning money was important, but Blanc said it was worth thinking about what mattered most to the people close to him. Gajeel started crying. He admitted he had been terrified earlier and thought he was going to die. If he failed to help his family, he felt they would be left crying without him. Blanc gave a small smile and changed the topic. He wondered if the large snake would sell for a good amount. Gajeel had completely forgotten about it. He then asked Blanc if he had seen anything else when the snake's head suddenly exploded. Blanc assumed it had died from old age. Gajeel doubted that and said he would report it to the guild later. Blanc panicked and asked him not to. He told him to just think of it as luck that saved him. Gajeel then asked how he was supposed to explain bringing back that monster as a grade 8 adventurer. He reminded Blanc how frightening the guild branch leader became when he was angry. Blanc groaned and said he would claim that Gajeel defeated it. Gajeel said that would be fraud. Blanc did not expect him to be that serious. Blanc and Gajeel finally returned to town while carrying their spoils. The guild appraisers panicked when they saw the monster parts. Blanc showed no sign of effort at all. Gajel struggled to catch his breath and praised Blanc, wondering why he did not want a share of the reward. Blanc said he had not done anything. Gajel refused to accept that and believed he could not have carried the monster alone without help. Blanc told him not to worry since he had been heading that way already. He repeated that he had not defeated the monster or played a big role. Gajel thought Blanc was strange and stayed quiet for a moment. After that, Gajel asked for Blanc's name because he had only heard others refer to him as the errand guy. Blanc asked why that mattered. Gajel explained that he wanted to address him properly and apologized for being rude earlier. Blanc then shared his name. Gajel proudly stated his own name and promised to earn a lot of money and repay Blanc twice the cost of the expensive potion. He said Blanc should wait because he planned to surprise him later. He thanked Blanc again and left. Blanc realized that Gajel was an honest boy. He believed Gajel would file a report, but based on his expression, Gajel did not seem to know Blanc had helped at all. Blanc thought he was getting better at hiding his actions. Blanc went to Lena to look for another quest. At the same time, he noticed that Gajel looked like someone who had fully accepted the idea of doing errand requests. The thought made Blanc laugh in a strange way, which creeped out Rena nearby. If more people started taking errand requests, Blanc knew he would need to rethink how he chose his work. He then decided on his next quest. It was the most avoided errand quest across all branches. It was the sewage patrol. Blanc immediately went down into the sewers. Almost no one came here, so it was completely dark with no lights at all. Blanc was different from most people. He used magic to strengthen his vision. Others would need lamps, and lamps needed fuel. The place was filthy with sewage, and the smell was terrible. There was also the risk that criminals could be hiding in the tunnels. If nothing happened, this quest would have been a simple patrol. Still, there was always a chance that something dangerous could appear. That was the reason nobody wanted this job. Blanc finished scanning the area using detection magic. There were no signs of nearby humans, but many monsters had settled in the sewers. He wondered if the place was truly abandoned or just badly maintained. Patrol quests did not give extra rewards for killing monsters. Monster materials could be sold, but it was a poor way to make money. This job, however, suited Blanc well. A dozen mice suddenly appeared, and Blanc wiped them out with a single kick. Even so, he felt disgusted. These were dust mice, rank 10 pests. They were weak, but they multiplied very fast and caused trouble. He had seen them before in the demon forest and wondered how they had reached the city sewers. The remaining dust mice panicked and tried to hide among the dead bodies. Blanc sensed no other activity and guessed they had arrived recently. He decided to finish them off before they could multiply. It did not take long for him to clear out the pests. The next problem was what to do with the bodies. Leaving them behind would cause them to rot and create more trouble. He could not chop them up and flush them away. The smell of blood might also attract other monsters. If he brought the bodies back, people might think he was hunting monsters for fun, which would damage his image as the errand guy. Then he noticed that one dust mouse had purple fur. At first, he thought it was a mutant, but he soon saw several more like it. If it was a disease, it could spread. That alone could lead to a disaster. Either way, he could not leave the bodies there. His special magic could erase them completely, but it was far too powerful and hard to control. If he made a mistake, he could destroy more than just the mice. Also, he remembered Knuckle mentioning that Blanc was carrying the heart of the 6th Demon Lord. He slapped his cheeks hard to clear his mind. He had come this far because he wanted to help people. He could not ignore danger just to protect himself. Sewer patrols were always unpopular, so he hoped no one else would wander into the sewers. Blanc kept telling himself this as he burned the pile of dust mice remains. He had also grown better at hiding evidence, so he believed everything would be fine. It did not take long for him to burn most of what he could sense in the sewers. Then he suddenly felt something strange. He sensed a presence that was well hidden, and a strong feeling of danger crept in. He followed the faint trace and soon ran into a barrier. He wondered why such a thing existed in the sewers. He believed checking what lay beyond it was part of his patrol duty, so he broke the barrier with ease. The barrier shattered, and a door appeared behind it. When he reached for the door, a cold chill ran through his body. Only then did he realize how powerful the barrier he had destroyed truly was. He had stayed in Claret for a long time and had never noticed such a strong presence hidden there. Gathering his courage, he opened the door and stepped inside, unsure of what awaited him. The moment he entered, he froze at the sight before him. The strong presence he had felt was coming from monsters trapped inside cages. He slowly looked around and realized that the dust mice might have escaped from this place. No people were present, but it was clear that someone had used the room for experiments. He found several documents marked with a strange crest. His head suddenly began to ache for no clear reason. The pain felt similar to the sudden waves of knowledge he sometimes experienced. But nothing surfaced this time. He suspected the crest was the cause. For the moment, he decided to gather everything he could. At that moment, a monster appeared. Blanc felt the sudden increase in temperature. He looked back to see the source of it, and the monster roared the same time the flames bursted forth. The documents he was supposed to take were burned to ashes. The creature before him was a rank 1 king beast. It looked like a massive lion with a burning mane. Upon closer inspection, he noticed it was made from several monsters from the demon forest sewn together. The other caged monsters shook in fear as the beast stood before him. Blanc recalled that this creature broke one of humanity's forbidden rules. It was an artificially modified monster known as a chimera. The chimera began attacking with its claws, but Blanc dodged in time. He soon realized that only monsters were used for its creation. He noticed human hands mixed within the monster's burning mane, which made him feel deeply disgusted. The chimera then bowed its head. Thick vines grew from its mane and shot forward to attack. Blanc found it hard to believe that people were capable of creating such attacks. As the vines spread, a snake's head appeared among them. It opened its mouth wide and released a heavy smog. Blanc watched as the caged monsters nearby collapsed one by one, and he understood that the smog was poison. He realized this poison was the reason the dust mice had mutated. The chimera assumed Blanc had been poisoned and moved in to finish him. However, the poison had no effect on Blanc at all. He sliced the chimera in half without hesitation. The monsters remained scattered across the floor, and the foul smell grew even stronger. Blanc complained inwardly about the stench and regretted enhancing his senses too much. Since the mutation was caused by poison and not a virus, there was no need to report an outbreak. Still, the fire and poison mist had destroyed the entire room. He could not recover a single document. Blanc had no idea who owned the lab, but whoever ran it had enough strength to capture monsters for experiments. That alone proved they were very dangerous. Leaving the guild aside, he knew he needed to inform his master. She had always supported him and stood by his side no matter what happened. Next, he thought about what to do with the chimera's remains. He considered burning the body to remove every trace of it. That idea felt dangerous. Anyone skilled enough to create a barrier like that would notice who had been there because of the leftover magic. He had already used spells throughout the sewers. If magic had been used openly above ground but a different method had been used below, people would assume two different people were involved. That plan seemed believable. His ability to deceive others had always been reliable. With that decided, he chose to leave the area. The owner of the lab would return sooner or later and clean up the mess themselves. The place had been hidden so deeply for a reason, which meant it held something important. He planned to report to the guild that nothing unusual had happened. It became just another simple errand that ended successfully. Not long after, a man wearing a lab coat came back to the lab. He reacted with anger as he examined the scene. He knelt in front of the dead chimera and tried to understand what had gone wrong. He had carefully covered the area with concealment magic to prevent discovery. He believed the barrier was accurate enough that even a highly skilled adventurer would miss it. Yet someone had still broken through and defeated the chimera without using magic. The result felt impossible to him. Ever since the Sword Saint had stolen their work, he had been forced to continue his research in this remote place to restore his group's name. What happened here felt unforgivable. He used a storage skill called Black Vault and collected the chimera's body along with everything inside the lab. He began to think about who would dare interfere with their organization. He promised himself that he would track them down and make them suffer for it. At the same time, Blanc returned to the guild to give his report, without checking whether he still smelled from the sewers. Meanwhile, in the Heavenly Thunder Mountains, a white tiger beast that lived with lightning was hunted. A woman confronted the beast and complained that it had made her chase it for a very long time. She had finally cornered it. She believed the long game of pursuit with her, Regina, was about to end. She was ready to hunt the Danger Class 1 Holy Thunder Beast at last. Earlier, a guild staff member had called her reckless for going after the beast alone. The staff warned that only a fool would enter mountains known for drawing lightning strikes. At the very least, she would need a full party to survive. Even a Class 1 adventurer would struggle on their own. Regina insisted she knew her limits and left anyway. She never believed she could defeat the beast by herself at first. Her first fight against it ended in defeat. Even so, she kept returning. She challenged it again and again. She fought it without stopping and learned from every loss. This time was different. The beast struck her with lightning, but the attack did not work. She still felt its overwhelming power, but she had grown stronger and finally caught up to it. She moved like lightning and appeared beside the beast. She swung her sword and cut through its neck. She felt thankful to the beast for forcing her to grow stronger over the past 4 years. When the monster fell, Regina stood there, soaked in sweat. She felt relief as she dropped to the ground. She was glad she had finally done it. At last she could breathe easily. She believed this victory brought her one step closer to the man she was chasing. When she returned to the guild, she learned shocking news. The man she had been following had quit being an adventurer. She could not accept it. A guild staff member close to her said it was strange that Regina had spent 4 years chasing a single contract. The staff also explained that the guild was struggling without the man. He had left behind a massive gap and the guild was barely keeping up with the noble requests he once handled. Since Regina had returned, the staff hoped the workload could finally ease. Regina did not share that hope. Lightning crackled around her as her anger rose. She swore she would find the man no matter where he went. The guild staff could not stop her. Regina refused to let him escape her sight. She hoped he was ready for what was coming. The man she was chasing was actually the Black Emperor. Back in Claret, Blanc and Arya went out together and noticed that the weather felt just right. Blanc thought it was a good day for doing odd jobs. Arya thought every day felt like that for him. He then wondered if she was fine with coming along, since the request did not include anything important to learn. Arya reminded him that she wanted to become an adventurer that everyone could rely on, so she wanted to help the townspeople in any way she could. Blanc felt impressed by this. He only understood that idea after becoming a grade 0 adventurer, but Arya had already learned it from the start. She accepted requests with a clear goal in mind. Blanc felt struck by her strong spirit as an adventurer. Soon after, a woman noticed them and grew excited, believing they were the ones who came to help. She guided them to the request for the day. At that moment, sheep began making loud noises without warning. The task was to help take care of the livestock. Blanc read through the request carefully. They needed to bring the sheep outside first so the shed could be cleaned, then return them once the work was finished. The client still had other errands to run, so the work would only be handled by the two of them. Arya wondered if she could manage since she had never taken care of animals before. Blanc thought it would be fine because experience was not required for the job. Still, he felt worried deep inside. Arya tried to ask what he had said, but his words were lost under the noise of the sheep. Blanc brushed it off and suggested they begin right away. He then moved to prepare the cleaning tools so they could start the task. Arya then decided to bring the sheep outside. When she tried to open the gate, she suddenly froze. Blanc noticed and saw that something was wrong. Arya felt worried and wondered if sheep could bite. Blanc found it hard to believe that someone who fought forest snakes was scared of soft animals. To Arya, the feeling was different and made her uneasy. Blanc urged her to move on since there was still a lot of work to do. Arya gathered her courage and opened the gate. She tried to lead the sheep outside, but none of them moved even with the door wide open. With no other choice, she tried to push and carry them out. The sheep did not move at all. She was shocked by how heavy and solid they felt. When she tried to lift one, it stayed in place and then shoved her away. Blanc quickly caught her before she fell. Arya felt surprised by how close they were in that moment. Blanc checked if she could still handle the task. Arya felt sorry, but Blanc did not blame her. He realized that these sheep caused more trouble than monsters. The sheep made loud noises and acted as if they were mocking them. Arya could not believe their behavior. She felt frustrated after losing to farm animals. Blanc paused to think and then decided to try himself. Arya felt unsure since the sheep were clearly stubborn. Blanc usually did not get along with animals, so he planned to leave the task to Arya before, this time, he had no other choice. He approached the sheep with a calm but cold presence. The animals reacted right away and stared at him. They sensed something threatening coming from him. Blanc ordered them to leave. The sheep became terrified and cried out. In a panic, they rushed out of the pen as if they were escaping from a predator. Arya watched in surprise as the sheep ran outside without any problems. She looked at Blanc for a moment and wondered how he had made the stubborn animals obey. Blanc said he had just intimidated them a little. He thought it might not work on mindless monsters, but he did not expect it to be this effective. If it were a person, they would usually faint or lose control. Animals being scared of him was normal. He guessed it was the 6th Demon King's aura that Knuckle had mentioned. The sheep seemed to sense it instinctively. Arya then brought out the cleaning tools and told Blanc to start while they could. Blanc agreed. Together, they cleaned the whole place carefully until it shone. Afterward, they went outside. Arya took a deep breath and tried to make the sheep go back inside. The sheep ignored her completely. Blanc asked what was wrong. Arya felt disappointed that intimidation was so hard. Blanc was surprised she even tried. He stepped forward and told the sheep firmly to return. The animals rushed back into their barn. Arya grabbed his hands and asked if he could teach her to use intimidation like that. Blanc said he did not mind if it was just a little. When the owner returned, she was surprised that everything had already been done. She commented that her sheep could be moody and wondered if they had been difficult. Blanc said they had been well behaved. Arya quietly laughed. The owner thought they were very reliable and hoped to ask for their help again. She did not know that the sheep were silently warning her not to call Blanc back. Back at the guild, Blanc told Lena he would take a month off. Lena approved immediately. Blanc looked confused. Lena was even more confused by his reaction. Arya worried that he was taking a vacation because she was slow to learn. Blanc reassured her that she was doing fine. He told her to keep practicing, as repetition was important. Arya understood and started focusing in a corner. Gajeel appeared and asked why she looked upset. Arya got mad at him for noticing. Blanc asked Lena if it was really okay to take some time off. Lena explained that he did not even need to report it. Blanc was surprised. Back when he had been the Black Emperor, taking a rest was never allowed. Even in extreme cases, he had to file a request beforehand. Lena reassured him that the guild would only worry if an adventurer disappeared for several days. Otherwise, adventurers were basically free to take breaks. Since his leave would be long, she decided to record where Blanc planned to go. Blanc said he was thinking of going home to the Lydian Empire. Lena remembered that it would take 2 weeks to travel there one way. Now that he mentioned it, she realized the Lydian Empire was where the Black Emperor had been most active. She had not heard about him in a long time and wondered what he was doing now. Blanc admitted that he did not know. He could only imagine the Black Emperor living peacefully. Before they could continue, Gajal appeared and angrily questioned why Blanc was taking a month off. Blanc asked if that was a problem. Gajal reacted strongly because he would miss him. Arya also said she would miss him. Blanc apologized and Gajal asked him to bring back souvenirs. The branch chief came out to scold them for making noise. Lena agreed that the others might be right. Finally, they saw Blanc off and wished him safe travels. Soon after, Reyna commented on how she could not believe Blanc came from a major country and yet ended up at such a small guild. She noted that the Lydian Empire was famous for having many S-class adventurers and that the main guild branch was located there. She also pointed out that the type of jobs Blanc enjoyed were mostly simple tasks and there were far more of them in Lydian. She wondered why he had registered at their small branch instead. Lena reminded her not to pry into an adventurer's past. Reyna then asked if she would dislike it if her boyfriend had secrets in his past. Lena could not believe the conversation was happening again and reminded her that she had said she was not interested in Blanc. Reyna explained that she meant herself. She seemed to have some interest in Blanc and the two continued to argue about whether Blanc was a good man or not. Meanwhile, Blanc kept sneezing repeatedly. He blamed it on the cold. It took a month to reach the Lydian Empire from Claret on foot. If someone rode a carriage, the journey lasted only a week. Using a wind chariot pulled by magical beasts, it could be done in 5 days at best. A man driving a carriage passed Blanc and asked if he was traveling alone. He said walking alone in these parts was dangerous. Blanc tried to answer, but then they heard loud noises behind them. A pack of monsters had appeared. Blanc quickly fought and defeated them. The people in the carriage thanked him for saving their lives. They wanted to repay him by letting him ride for free to his destination. Blanc said he appreciated the offer, but this time he chose to walk. A girl peeked out of the carriage and handed him a candy to thank him for protecting them from the monsters. Blanc waved as they left. Starting the trip by helping some travelers felt like a good sign. He unwrapped the candy and ate it. Its taste surprised him. He had never eaten anything so delicious. Blanc realized the world was bigger than he had thought. He hoped the same candy would be sold in the capital. Honestly, he would not have minded a slow ride in the wagon with them. Still, he decided to take a month off. If he wanted, running could be faster anyway. Being seen on the main path could be a problem, so he planned to avoid it. He would cut through the mountains and take a hidden shortcut. After so long, a trip through the wilderness felt refreshing. It was the perfect time for him to breathe in the forest air and relax. 3 days later, Blanc started to feel a little bored. He remembered how he had trained in the forest recently and realized he had already had enough of the forest air. He paused as he sensed something nearby. He frowned, thinking it was troublesome, but he decided to deal with it anyway. He noticed a barrier that felt similar to the one he had seen in the sewer, though it was weaker. He thought it would be a waste of energy to break it, so he phased through the barrier instead. Beyond it, he found a group of houses. He quickly realized it was the hideout of a bandit group. He overheard the bandits talking. One complained about guarding the outside when golems were already set up. He mentioned that someone inside was performing a special experiment. Blanc listened carefully. Another bandit told him to stop complaining, saying those experiments gave them a good life. When their work was done, they could enjoy themselves even more. Blanc understood then that they were part of a crime syndicate. The bandits also mentioned how they had already harmed many girls. They claimed they could not be blamed because the girls were already broken when they arrived. Blanc felt his blood boil. Something dropped near the bandits, and they went to check it. Blanc acted quickly. He eliminated the one at the back first. The first bandit tried to look back, but a dagger hit his forehead the moment he turned and he fell to the ground. Blanc could not believe he had acted on impulse. If he had waited, he could have learned more from their conversation. He wondered when he had become so impulsive. Blanc turned toward the building and sensed several human signatures, some strong and some faint. They were either experiments or victims, but either way he needed to rescue them. He remembered being taught countless times about helping people. Back then he had not understood the meaning of those lessons. Now he hoped his master would know that he had finally found his own will to help others. He wondered if she would be proud. He covered his face with a mask and hoodie and silently asked her to watch over him. It did not take long for the bandits inside, who had been enjoying themselves, to turn into piles of shredded bodies. Blanc stood in the middle of the blood and chaos, calm and determined. A golem appeared, but Blanc easily sliced its core in half. The golem hit the ground with a loud thud and the noise alerted the other bandits. Blanc realized that silently killing golems was almost impossible. He could fight the bandits directly, but if they got ahead of him and took hostages, it would cause serious problems. His first priority became rescuing the captives. He went deeper into the building and followed the faint signals of weak presences. Then he froze. In front of him were several children strapped to beds with strange devices attached to them. He looked around, trying to understand what kind of place this was. His eyes widened as dark memories suddenly came back to him. He remembered people in lab coats and even a demon experimenting on him. He recalled a heart being placed on his chest while someone spoke about fulfilling their dreams. They had wanted the sixth to awaken. Blanc grabbed his head and fell to the floor. He groaned and gasped for air. He wondered if what he saw had been himself as a child. He questioned whether these were really his memories. After a long moment, Blanc calmed down. He heard footsteps approaching and realized it was not the time to dwell on the past. He reminded himself of his mission. He reached the cages where the remaining captives were still alive. He told them he had come to help and sliced through the iron bars. The girls thanked him for saving them. They felt relieved that they could finally go home. Blanc apologized but told them they had to hurry. He asked about the others. Those who were standing painfully looked toward the ones sitting on the floor. Blanc checked on them and realized they were already dead. He could only rest their souls and pray for their peace. The girls behind him could not stop crying. Blanc stood and warned that the bandits would arrive any minute. The girls agreed to follow him. They were too late. Blanc sensed the bandits nearby. He told the girls to stay with the others and claimed he would handle the threat. The girls then noticed the experimented children and shuddered at the sight. Blanc asked if they had known about this place. One girl shook her head. They had been moved around while blindfolded and did not know where they were. She asked if the others would be all right. Blanc reassured her that while the drugs might have clouded their minds, their bodies were unharmed. The black-haired girl let out a sigh of relief. Blanc noticed something off. He wondered why he felt sure the kids would be fine. Ever since he had arrived, nothing made sense. Bandits were already crowding in front of him. Blanc could not believe these men would hurt women and children. His chest felt tight and twisted. He felt sick. Seeing the bandits made him frustrated and he glared at them. One of the bandits asked if a kid like him was really trying to save the woman out of some half-baked sense of justice. He said they were just there to have fun and Blanc had come to ruin it. They did not care where he came from but called him an idiot for coming alone. One bandit grabbed his neck and told him to say something. He laughed at Blanc for being scared to speak, but Blanc stayed calm. He sliced the bandit's head cleanly. Then he went straight for the leader's throat and demanded to know who they were. He asked what kind of place this was, and why they were doing such terrible things. Behind him, the other bandits already had their necks cut. The leader panicked and shouted, asking what Blanc was. Blanc cut off the leader's arms and legs and told him to answer the questions. The leader screamed in pain from losing his limbs. Standing over him, Blanc asked again what this place was. The leader begged and said he did not know. He claimed they were only following orders. He explained that the client always wore a hoodie, so they never saw his face. He offered that if Blanc gave him a location and some men, they could attack passing caravans and hand over the children in return. The leader pleaded for his life and swore he knew nothing more. The girls decided to take a look and tried to see what was happening. Blanc said he had only dealt with the bandits and left their leader for questioning. The girls stood in front of the leader with cold stares. They blamed him for everything. Blanc said his work was finished and told them to do as they wished. The girls picked up their weapons. The leader begged for mercy, but Blanc ignored the cries and returned to the lab room. He checked on the children and thought he could give them some time to recover. He still did not know what kind of drugs had been used on them, so there could still be side effects. At that moment, he felt a sharp pain in his head. He guessed it was another fragment of the mysterious memories. He decided to ask his master later since she was the only one who could handle complicated matters like this. After saving them, Blanc asked the women what they planned to do. They said they had already lost everything, their families, their homes, and their savings. They had nowhere left to go. Blanc offered to help. He said that when they reached the Ladion Empire, he would request protection for them. He explained that Garston was the nearest large and prosperous city and that he knew the lord there was a good man. He promised to help them settle safely. The girls thanked him for his help. Blanc also assisted in pulling the carriage with the children. Soon after, they finally saw the city walls in the distance. The girls felt relief. Tears of joy ran down their faces. They had finally escaped that terrible place. Blanc then watched them leave and showed the smile that had been hidden behind his mask. In the distance, his master stood on a tall tree branch. She felt a familiar presence she had not sensed in a long time. She felt happy knowing that Blanc was doing well. The girls then shared everything that had happened with the Lord of Garston. He thanked them for sharing, even though it was painful for them to remember. He noticed many strange details and felt it was hard to blame everything on simple bandits. It was better than what usually happened in Blackwood Forest, but he had never heard of bandits strong enough to settle in the dangerous mountain range. A doctor soon arrived, and the Lord asked about the condition of the children. The doctor explained that time would likely help them recover, but finding out the exact drugs used on them would be very difficult. After that, the Lord asked the girls if they knew anything about the person who saved them. The girls could only remember that he was a young man. The Lord then recalled how the young man had said the children would soon regain their senses. If that happened, the young man might know something about the research facility. The girls were unsure about this. However, they remembered that the young man also looked truly shocked when he saw the facility. At one moment, he even seemed confused and unsure of what to do. The Lord strongly questioned how the young man knew about the children's condition if he did not know about the facility. The girls became frightened and said they truly knew nothing more. The Lord apologized for pressing them when they had no answers to give. The only clear thing he knew was that the young man had protected the women and children and crossed the dangerous mountain range by himself. He had also defeated a group of bandits with ease. That level of power suggested at least second-class strength, yet there were no reports of someone like that in the area. Because of this, the Lord greatly wished to meet this young man. The women then asked what would happen to them next. The Lord told them not to worry because he promised to give them full help and support. He said they were welcome to stay in his city. If they wished to return home, he would arrange safe travel for them. Seeing how tired they looked, he told them to rest well for the time being. As he turned to leave, the city lord's aide tried to speak, but the Lord stopped him before he could finish. The Lord remembered that all the women came from different birthplaces. That detail suggested that bandits had used teleportation magic to strike many regions at once. He understood how serious this was. Because of that, he decided to report the matter to the capital right away and begin a full investigation. The Blackwood Forest the Lord mentioned earlier was a place filled with dense mana. Dangerous monsters wandered freely there. The forest earned its name from leaves that turned black after being soaked in thick ambient mana. There was no demon lord living there, but the danger of the forest matched that of the demon forest. As Blanc walked through the forest, he felt a sense of nostalgia. He had been forced to train with a sword in this place long ago. He believed this harsh training was the reason he became skilled at sensing nearby presences. While he tried to recall the path to his master's house, monsters attacked him from all sides. He cut them down in an instant. After that, he looked toward one direction. He sensed several presences gathered near the house. He assumed they were adventurers sent to keep watch. Blanc let out a quiet sigh. He guessed they were investigating his master's home because they were searching for him. His master had never told anyone where he was, so they would gain nothing useful. Even if she knew his location, she would never speak of it. Blanc trusted her without doubt. Because of that, he chose to use the back entrance instead. Blanc arrived at a set of ruins. It always felt strange that there were almost no monsters in this area. No matter the reason, such a noticeable ruin should have been searched thoroughly by now. He soon found the statue he had been looking for. It showed a tall knight holding a massive sword. Blanc remembered how to activate the mechanism. He drew his sword and stabbed a specific part of the statue's blade. After that, he moved around and stabbed certain spots on the ground. When he struck the final point, part of the floor slid open. A staircase leading underground appeared. As he stepped inside, torches lit up on their own. He assumed they were light stones. These stones absorbed living mana and turned on or off by themselves. Blanc thought it would be useful to have one in his own home. At that moment, he sensed a sudden flow of air. He avoided a surprise attack by dropping onto his back. The move shocked him. He had not sensed the attack until it was right in front of him. Only one person could hide their presence that well. A figure then stepped out from the darkness. It was Clu, Blanc's master and the sword saint. Blanc immediately grabbed the hilt of his sword and prepared himself for battle. Clu moved in first and delivered a heavy opening strike. Blanc managed only to block the blow. He tried to fight back and swung his sword in a wide arc, but Clu avoided it with ease. Blanc was already breathing hard as he felt the pressure of that first exchange. He thought that this was a rough way to be welcomed by his own master. Clu observed his movements and noticed that the past 3 years had not been wasted. Seeing his growth made her feel relieved. Blanc believed he could not risk using magic again. Clu agreed, knowing that if he used magic, those hunting him might sense his presence and follow his trail. That was why she had made him rely only on physical skills when he worked as an adventurer. This was the first time Blanc had learned the real reason behind it. Clu then revealed that there was another reason as well. She explained that his natural mana was so large that it could have killed him if left unchecked. Blanc was stunned by this truth. Because of that danger, Clu had trained him harshly in magic so he could learn control before it consumed him. Blanc finally understood how dangerous he had been without knowing it. Clula's true strength lay in sword fighting, so she had also pushed him hard in that field. She felt satisfied after seeing how much her effort had paid off. She gave him a calm look and a small gesture of approval, and Blanc felt relieved. He had believed he was standing on his own, but he realized that his master had been protecting him the whole time. He felt deep gratitude toward her and respected her even more after understanding everything she had done. Clula sensed that his skill had truly grown and suggested pushing the test further. Blanc raised his hand in panic and tried to stop her. He worried that others might notice if they fought seriously. Clula brushed this aside, believing that adventurers at that level would not sense anything unusual. She suddenly launched a surprise attack. She wanted to take advantage of the rare moment when no one else could see them. Blanc reacted just in time and avoided the strike. He kept trying to get her to slow down, but she showed no sign of stopping. Clula believed that avoiding attacks alone proved nothing and urged him to fight back with everything he had. Blanc felt frustrated and insisted that he was already giving it his all. At that moment, Clula caught him cleanly. Blanc wore the expression of someone ready to be beaten. Just like before, he could not believe he had survived this kind of training in the past. Soon after, Blanc was carried like a child, his face already beaten and swollen. As expected, he still could not match her strength. Clula believed this was only natural because she had lived her whole life with the sword and she never planned to let him surpass her. She reminded him not to take it too hard and said that he was already strong in his own way. Blanc understood that truth. Even so, she had been holding back a lot and he still could not fight back at all. That fact frustrated him. Clula did not fully understand what he meant at first. She explained that the secret passage would have disappeared instantly if he had truly gone all out. Blanc let out a quiet sigh and made it clear that he had grown as well. He explained that he could now measure the distance between their strengths even if he could not close it yet. After that, Cluely dropped him to the ground and laughed. Blanc said this reaction was exactly what he had meant. Cluely continued laughing and then realized that he truly had grown. Blanc looked confused by her reaction. Cluely then pulled him into a hug, feeling glad about his progress. Blanc tried to remind her that he was an adult now and asked her not to keep treating him like a child forever. She warmly welcomed him back and the moment stunned him. He said that he had returned and hugged her in response. They then went to the house and ate some snacks together. After that, Cluel asked about the sudden return. She wondered if he had finally settled matters in Claret and came back to report. Blanc explained that this was part of the reason, but he also returned because he wanted to ask her about something important. He then began drawing an object and showed it to her, asking if she recognized it. Her expression darkened as confusion showed on her face. She asked what kind of object it was. Blanc admitted that he could not understand it at first either, and he was surprised that even his master seemed to know nothing about it. Clule then asked him to draw a dog as a test. He did not understand the reason, but he followed her request and drew one. When he showed it to her, she reacted with shock and held her head in confusion. She asked if that was truly a dog. Blanc confirmed that it was. After calming herself, she smiled, which only confused him more. She then asked him to describe what he felt when he looked at the strange object. Blanc doubted that such a description would help, but she insisted it would be better than the disturbing drawing he had made earlier. He focused and recalled the image carefully. He explained that it showed a human figure facing sideways, opposite something like a demon. Below them, shapes were tangled together as if they were mixing into one. This description shocked his master. She quickly drew something of her own and showed it to him. Blanc confirmed that it matched exactly what he had seen. She then asked where he had found the symbol. Blanc explained that it appeared in the sewers of Claret and inside a facility hidden in the mountains. He added that people there were conducting experiments on humans. Clewer reacted with sudden anger and her killing intent burst out uncontrollably. Blanc trembled and begged her to stop. She soon apologized. Blanc said he was fine, though he believed anyone nearby who felt that killing intent may have collapsed instantly. Clule dismissed it, saying those people had been annoying anyway. Blanc accepted that response, but he still asked about the true meaning of the strange crest. Clule became serious and explained that the group involved was the Magian Society. She made it clear that humans and demons had long been enemies. Demons were not simple monsters because they could think and decide for themselves, which made them far more dangerous. She revealed that the Magian Society was formed when certain demons and humans chose to work together. This revelation shocked Blanc, since humanity was not supposed to side with demons at all. However, the truth was more complex. The demons who joined the society had betrayed their original masters, the demon lords, and began acting on their own will. Together with humans, they started researching ways to fuse demons and humans into a new race. To do this, they kidnapped people and used them as materials for their experiments. Clue looked at her student with clear worry as she explained this dark truth. She then took out a small vial filled with red liquid. The liquid was blood, but not ordinary blood. It was a reagent, most likely created from monster blood. The society injected it into people to change their bodies from the inside. The substance did not turn humans into monsters right away. At first, it only clouded the mind, and some people could recover on their own. As time passed, the effects grew worse. The victims became confused and lost their ability to think clearly. In the final stage, the blood rejected their bodies, and they died. In the end, it was nothing more than a failed poison. Blanc had never known that such a group existed. Cluel explained that years ago, zero-ranked adventurers, including herself, worked together with national night orders to wipe the Magian Society out. Yet the appearance of their sigil meant they were not fully destroyed. Some members must have survived, regrouped, and gone into hiding underground once more. Even so, the most important matter now was not the past but the boy standing in front of her. Blanc then wondered if they should have notified the kingdom about the situation. Clule confirmed that they should have, but she wanted him to stay out of it. She explained that the blame belonged to them, the punitive force that failed to wipe out those people. Blanc tried to insist, but she told him it was fine. She reminded him that he was free now, and had already begun a new life. She gently patted his head and messed up his hair. She told him not to worry about her and to focus on living his own life instead. Blanc answered that he understood, but she doubted that his expression truly showed it. Not long after, Blanc suddenly jumped up from his seat. He sensed that someone was approaching and thought it might be one of the watchers his master had once mentioned. Clule calmly said it was fine, as it was a presence she recognized. Soon after, the door burst open and Regina rushed in while crying. She called out to Clule and embraced her tightly. Clule acknowledged that it really had been a long time. Regina continued to cry while clinging to her. Clule remembered how she had once warned Regina not to act recklessly. Regina showed regret for her actions. Blanc wondered if the two of them knew each other and thought it might be a good time to prepare more tea. He tried to walk toward the kitchen to brew it himself. He felt proud that he could do it on his own now, and hoped his master would have been surprised to see him. At that moment, Regina began complaining about the Black Emperor.